guess I'm gonna start off by it's a pretty decent book I bought. I got this hardback book for like $4. So I wanted to start off that. I'll be on a little later tonight because it is the solstice. So this is the longest night of the year. Last night was a long night as well. A lot of beautiful energies going on last night. So deep meditation for a couple hours, and I had some spiritual work to do last night too, which is can be rather draining. Um, yeah, it's kind of a sadness, like Morris says, it all starts with a gentle sadness. Hey, Reese, peace. Thanks for joining me. Um, Come to find out yesterday, like in my family, the Southwestern Pheasant Clan of the Wannaponkans, I am the second elder chief. Only following my cousin Ronnie. I have another cousin that would be ahead of me. He had a stroke, and so just by proxy, I'm ahead of him. Of course, my brother is directly another elder chief, and then my children, of course, come into line. But there was another young man that, as I said to my APJ, as I said to my brother yesterday, this young man comes from the mother, comes from the mother, who comes from the mother, who comes from the mother, who comes from the mother. And we found out yesterday, after 3 days of nobody talking to him, that he ended up passing. And so this was crushing because not only was he was a member of the family, he was a younger chief. And the DNA lost is insurmountable. Luckily, he had a younger son, but again, coming from the woman, he had a line of coming from the women. So it was hard. And it's funny, the last time I saw him was probably 4 or 5 years ago. And he was just being himself. My mother's like, well, he's kind of stuck up. No, he was being himself. And that's what people have to understand. Hey, strong iron, Iron 5, strong discernment. Thank you for joining me. And you can never take, people have to be themselves. And so if people are being themselves, you can't really criticize that. He was at his grandmother's house. He was being himself. That's all you can take it. Today, on my Responsible Daddies, I want to tell a story. And I've told this story before, but I think it's for Responsible Daddies Hour. I think I'm going to tell it again. So if you look up a show by Al Prophet, he's a dude. He's a Detroit dude. He's a homeboy. But he talks about the history of dope in Detroit. But one episode, he found what would have been one of my I don't know if I can say friends, but he was one of my connects, and his name was Peanutty. Now, to give a little background, my friend was called Peanut. There was Peanutty, J Nutty, and then Peanut, all Highland Park cats. I could be wrong about Peanutty, but I believe he was a Highland Park cat too, because my friend Peanut, like you went out his mother's front door, you could see oh my goodness, now I'm tripping, but Highland Park. Highland Park was like uh, behind the houses across the street from him. You could see that long street on Highland Park. So I'm pretty sure all the guys were from the Highland Park area of Detroit. And so I was watching Al Prophet, and then Peanutty was on there. Now, Peanutty, as I say, he was a dude that was one of my connects. And as I said before, Detroit had some of the greatest prices because those of you who do not realize that Detroit has a direct pipeline to New York through the Detroit rivers that goes through the Soo Locks. That goes all the way into Hudson Bay, which goes all the way to New York. So when the drug wars was on, or the drug push was allowed, a lot of drugs flowed through them boats, and it was cheaper to get drugs in Detroit comparatively to Chicago. Actually, Chicago was late, especially crack. Crack hit Chicago late. That was one thing that the drug people did in Chicago, is they stopped crack for a long time. But of course, once enough addicts became in Chicago, was nothing they could do to stop it. And you had a lot of the branches of gangs breaking off. It was like, fuck this, I'm gonna make my money. Fair enough. And so I tell the story of P Nutty because there was another cat named J Nutty, and I dealt with them all the time. Every few days I was shooting from Battle Creek to Detroit. Is roughly one time going 90. I made it in 50 minutes. I was from Highland Park going directly to Battle Creek. It took me about 50 minutes to get to Highland Park from Battle Creek. So driving moderately, you're talking about an hour from Battle Creek to Detroit. You're talking about an hour. You can make it where it turns into going into Plymouth or I-94 that goes to the airport by the Great Big Tire. You know, the Goodrich, I think it's the Great Big Goodrich Tire. But for the Responsible Daddies Hour, I tell the story of P Nutty, or J Nutty, excuse me. I told the story of J Nutty because despite J Nutty being a hustler, you know, he had a family. And so one night, J Nutty was in front of his house and he was approached by 4 gunmen. Nothing he could really do. They came in his car, and right as they was coming in his car, he grabbed his keys and he threw his keys in a snowbank. This saved his family. They couldn't find it because sometimes you can throw some shit in the snowbank and you can search right where the hole you see went, can't find the shit. And so that's what happened. And I bring this up in the Responsible Daddies Hour because he saved his family. Now, he lost his life. Sure enough, he lost his life, but he saved his family. So again, thinking under pressure, stopped harm to his family. And so it did cost him his life, but he saved his family, if you understand that. And that's why the thing of brothers, you know, not being responsible dads, and that's why I do this while I wait for my daughter, is because that's a lie that just keep pushing on. Now, I know PJ has children, responsible dad. Super Sly, Nick. You know, Nick has been lucky enough to walk his daughters down the aisle. Again, responsible fathers. And one thing you have to understand about responsible fathers is we tend to be stern. Like I was saying, just as I probably overpushed my son, the discipline that he had. Hey, Nicole, thank you for joining me. The discipline that my son had, he still uses in his everyday life. I mean, my son that you see put his face in there, we call him City, the big 6'5" dude, 250. When he's in 8th grade, I beat his ass. It's like, okay, this is what you want. I beat his ass. Picked him up, slammed him on the carpet, put him in a hold, because that's what it took at that time. And so discipline is a part of still. Like my 26-year-old says I was too easy on my younger children. He tells a story how I beat all of them. It was 3 of them at the time alive, and how I beat all 3. And he's like, he still remembers that whooping. But what they didn't understand is I had worked like 18 hours. I had worked 18 hours as a cop, and then I had to turn around and go back to work like in 4 or 5 hours. And so when I told them to be quiet, please let me get some rest, and then they still in there giggling, I beat their little asses. Because again, he tells only the part of the story from his perspective. He doesn't tell the part of the story from my perspective. Is here I am working off exhaustion, and I got to go back and do it again. So he doesn't tell that part. So that's why the reaction, you know, every action is a reaction. That's where the reaction came from. Hey, CJ, what's happening? So discipline is a part of being responsible for boys and girls. When my daughter that's about to come, when she was little, I would say, what's going to happen if you do that again? And she would go, you were going to spank my little butt. Because that's what I was always telling her. I was like, I'm going to spank your little butt if you don't stop. But that's what she would repeat. I would say, what happened? You're going to spank my little butt. Hey, Jay, thank you for joining me. Thank you for the kind words. And so discipline is part of it. It's part of being a responsible father. And discipline shows as they get older. I mean, I think Eddie Griffin is the one that said his mother beat him from going to the penitentiary. I can think a lot of people look at Joe Jackson as beating his children into fame. Beating his children into fame. Hey, Liquid Fire, thank you for joining. Thank you for the kind words. It's like, Bika, what's happening? I'll tell my 5-year-old there are consequences in your actions. There you go, Nicole. I mean, at that they understand reasoning at that young. Even like the other day, my daughter had something I really couldn't hear. So she had said something slick, and her mother's like, hell no. And she was like, did you just hear her? I ain't really hear her. She was in the bedroom and said some slick shit. And I was like, yeah, I did, just supporting her. Just supporting her mom. It's like, you get out here and apologize. I ain't hear what she said, but she's like, apologize to your father. I ain't hear what she said, but I was supporting her mother's discipline. And so that's just part of being a responsible father, is discipline, or responsible mother. But so far, the brothers get the publicity of not being there, and we know that that's a lie. As I was mentioned, just going to the games. I live in an area of mostly Europeans. I bet this area is 1%. Melanated people. This school here, I probably could count 10 melanated people, maybe. I don't think there's any melanated teachers at this school at all. Pretty sure there aren't. I'm pretty sure there aren't. Again, we're not in the schools as much, so I could be wrong, but from the little that I've seen, and even from being here this third year here, has never been. So, hey, DeAndre, thank you. And so that's part of it. That's part of it, is loving them enough to discipline them, teaching them from a young age to respect. I mean, I've had to brandish weapons on my children. I'm like, it's just like, yeah, okay. You think you're here? Well, this is how a man reacts. And that's what I end up telling my son. I'm like, even though it wasn't loaded, it was still, you're not going to talk shit to me in my house. And you're not going to talk shit to me in my house where I feel threatened and I got to push back at your ass and put your ass out of my house. No other way I could do it. Like, you want to be a man? Okay, I'm going to treat you. And this is how a man can act towards you. So in any given moment, when you fuck with a man, you got to know how the repercussions of that's a man. Now, no, I wouldn't have hurt my son, but the point was, motherfucker, who is you talking to? And it upset them all. My mother understood, though. My mother understood. He went and lived with my mother for a little while, but she understood. She asked him, what were you doing? He said, blah, 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 blah. She was like, you were wrong. She was like, you were wrong. Of course, his mother's giving it to me. How could you do? Fuck you, too. I had to do the same shit to her. Hitting me. And then I hit her back. She would have called the cops. Hit me several times. Matter of fact, I cut my ear and was freaking bleeding. Didn't even know it. Cut my ear, and she kept, like, I was blocking her hand, but she kept hitting where my ear was blood. I had was shaving, nicked my ear. So I had some toilet paper to quit bleeding. And she kept, trying to hit me, and I was blocking it, but she was still catching my ear. So after like 7 times, I just caught her in her face and knocked her out. And then, of course, she wanted to call the peoples on me because, but she instigated it. And they walked up and seen me bleeding. They was like, did she make you bleed? I was like, well, this is what happened. She was slapping me. I cut myself shaving, and she kept slapping me, so I popped her in self-defense. Yes, my punch was harder than anything she did to me, but still, it was self-defense. They understood that, took her ass away. It's just how it works sometimes. It backfired on her. Because we all have the right for self-defense. I always support my husband when he has disciplined our little ones, because he is the example of what Father Man is to his children. Hey, conspiracy. That's right. I'm gonna read that again. I always support my husband when he disciplines our little one, because he is an example of what a father is to raise his children. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. Hey, Crazy Sarge, greetings to you. And so, and always be a man. That's why dressing to me is so important. Like my son that lives with me, he's like his grandfather. I only in the 30 years I knew his grandfather, this man, I only saw him wear a coat one time. One time I saw this man wear a coat just once. And he walked to work every morning because he owned a restaurant, and He just liked to walk. And so it wasn't far. It was a couple blocks. Again, when I talk about the cut, he'd cut through and be at his restaurant. And it'd be fucking freezing. He might throw on a pair of gloves, maybe a hat, but never saw him wear a coat. My son is just like that. He'll walk out the house with shorts on. Right now it says it's 20 degrees. I understand, but it's bummish. I have to get on him. I'm like, you looking like a bum. Like his friends won't, be dressed up for them, and here he is looking like a bum. I'm saying I understand that you're hot, but you can't walk around in the winter looking like a crazy person because that's kind of how he looks. So, I had recently had to check a dude. My sister-in-law used to be that had my stepsons shook him because he kept coming around drunk. I don't play that. He knows no matter no nice guy shit from me. Right on, right on. I'll tell you, one time I had to put my ex-wife's, the one I was telling you I had to knock out. I had to put two of our uncles out acting crazy in my house, and both them dudes was like 6'5", and I like grabbed them both by the back, like necktied them both, like the necktie tackle. I grabbed them both by their collars and like blocked them together and freaking put them out my damn house. And my ex was like, how did you do that? But I'd like grab them both at the same time and just like, get the fuck up out of here. But sometimes that's necessary. So salute to you, PJ, because sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes it's very necessary. Because you don't want fuckery around you. You don't want that as an example around you or around your children. Oh, looks like they're about to come out. This is their last day too. This is last day of school, whereas most schools is out. I don't know why they need these 2 days. I know the teachers got to be pissed too, because they only get, instead of 10 full days out of school, of course 10 counting weekends, they're only getting 2 days off, 3 days off this week, and then next week, and then they go back to third. I think I'm gonna have to pull up. But that's what you want. You want your children to see balance. Like my children can't say they saw me drunk. None of my children can say they ever saw me drunk. A little tipsy, silly, yeah, but never where I'm just like their mother. Their mother got diabetes from drinking. I mean, she got diabetes from alcohol. She wasn't much of a sweet person, eating sweets. No, she got diabetes strictly from drinking alcohol and being alcoholic. Finally got to pick my daughter up. Oh, salute, Crazy Sarge. Salute. Everything is falling in place for you. I am so joyful for you, brother. If anyone deserves it, you definitely do. So enjoy her. I hope you and your partner both enjoy her. What is this dumbass back here going to do? I don't see how you going to get out, buddy. There ain't no way to get out. Yeah, you dumb as hell. But salute, Crazy Sarge. I'm joyful for you. I talked to my daughter, my older daughter, my 15-year-old daughter. Wow, she'll be 16 next month. She's already driving and shit. And she's like, Dad, there's nothing wrong. She's this girl going through hormones, but she's like, I just, be doing stuff. And then I know you call, and then I forget you call. And I'm like, I don't take that shit personal. I don't take it to heart. I understand. Like I called, like I had to talk to my oldest son to tell him about his cousin yesterday. But them dudes, it's life. Like my mother really gets, like my mother has only saw my 26-year-old on her birthday last February, and it hurts her soul. But I went 2 years without seeing my mother because she used to live here, and I lived in North Carolina when she first moved here. When she first moved here, I was still living in North Carolina because she moved here in '81, and so I was still living in North Carolina. So I went maybe 3 years talking to her but not seeing her for about probably 3 years. And it wasn't until 85. 85 was probably the summer of 86. The summer of 86 was the first time that I saw my mom in a number of years because I drove here in the summer of 86. Yeah, because I still think I had my North Carolina license plate. So what did that car do? I don't see him, but there's no way he was going to get out the way he was acting. He couldn't even went that way. It's only really one way in this area. Do you still think the Lakers will trade Westbrook? Well, Miska, I don't drink alcohol. I do engage a little Magic Dragon though. I'm an alcoholic in the sense that I could drink beer every day. I am an alcoholic in that sense. I like drinking beer. I like the taste of beer. I like the craftsmanship of beer. And so I could drink beer every day. And I really have to be disciplined enough because I had an aunt just died and she just drank wine, but she drank for probably 20 years. She drank 2 bottles of wine a day. That'll turn your liver into rock. That's what cirrhosis is. And so as you get older, like again, I've said, I'm not a drunk drinking, but consuming alcohol every day is not good for your system. And so you have to go, I try to tell my children that. I was like, you have to go periods where you just don't drink alcohol. And that's just the way it is. You just have to let yourself clean. Like right now, I'm probably not going to drink any more alcohol till Christmas, just to let my system clean up. Because as you get older, it's just like sugars. I've had to cut out a lot of sugars because sugar is a poison to your system. Let me back up, pull up a little more. I'll tell you, last time this dude was checking numbers, he skipped me and I'm not seeing my daughter, and I'm going to cuss his ass out if I'm sitting here again. Because that's what I'm thinking. I'm sitting here again and the children ain't coming out. And last time, he skipped me. That's why I don't like when he takes numbers, because he seems to skip me. And here it is, my daughters ain't coming out and I'm the first in line. And that's what happened before. So, hold on. Hey, did you skip my number? You skipped? Was my number skipped again? Oh, here she comes. Here she comes. Little irritated there, y'all. Because last time I'm sitting here and I'm second in line.
I can't find Piper.
What do you mean you can't find her?
She wasn't in the gym and the bell already went off.
Oh, that's what took you so long?
Yeah, she's not in
Okay, well, this is the end of it. Till we meet again. Oh, I'll be on tonight at 11. So till we meet again.